And welcome back to Coffee with the Wolves, presented by JJCAA Athletics. This week we're talking wrestling, and we got Coach Gary Woods here with me. How you doing, Gary?
Doing all right, doing all right. Trying to finish the season out. It's a stressful time. Last week was real busy with seating meetings. I guess 2 weeks
Yeah.
while we're talking,
Yeah.
2 weeks. We're a few days out from leaving for the national tournament, so it's like getting everything in order and hotels and all
Yeah.
that good stuff. It's a stressful time.
Yeah, so we're recording this a full week before this episode comes out, because the day this episode comes out, you're going to be at the
And
national
nationals.
tournament.
Yep, we'll be there.
Where's it at this year? I don't have the schedule.
It's in Council Bluff. It's been there for, I think,
Okay.
last 3 years, and I think we've got another 2 years there at the national tournament being held in the same place. So it's a nice arena. It's
What's the
beautiful.
travel like from here?
Last year I drove it, and my assistant coach drove it, and it was rough. It was like 6 hours or so, and we didn't finish till 11 o'clock at night. We drove all night through, and it was bad. So this year we're actually taking a charter bus, so that
Nice.
should help a lot with that.
Well, let's dive in. Let's kind of talk a little bit about the season. You've kept me informed throughout the year, about where your guys and your girls are.
Yeah.
Men's and the women's side. We're just kind of, how do you feel at this point in the season? It's about to wrap up on the biggest stage of the year. But you've had both sides, just a lot of success, a lot of history made, especially on the women's side throughout the season.
Yeah.
How you feeling about your team, your student athletes, where you guys are at?
We're a small team. There were 6 guys that made it to the district tournament. There's 6 girls that are going to the national tournament, so we've kind of definitely dwindled in numbers. But the 6 that we have on each side are tough competitors, and they've definitely grown a lot over the year. So I'm feeling confident. It's a long season, so it's just keeping them motivated. And they're hitting that wall. They've hit that wall about 2 weeks ago of like wanting to be done, and now they're we reamped it up again. So like we took a little small, like made it a lot easier on them, get their bodies healthy so we can make this last push towards the national tournament. So I'm excited. I think we're going to make some more history. I really do. We've got quite a few girls that are on the national rankings, and we're like 12th or 11th right now on open mat and on the women's side. And I think they got us like 22nd on the last NJCAA rankings for the men's, So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a fun weekend next weekend. And, while we're there, I think it's going to be fun and it's going to be exciting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's always weird recording these so far
It
in
is. I'm like,
advance.
wait a second. How do I do this?
Yeah, because, again, this episode's coming out the day you're starting the tournament.
Yep.
You'll be, the part of the reason we're doing this early
Yeah.
is so I can get you on at the start. But, yeah. How I guess, looking at, you have 6 for the men, 6 for the women. Who are you kind of expecting some big things out of this year,
So-
at this tournament?
Yeah, so look, we got 6 women that made it, that are going to the national tournament. We only have 3 guys, so we lost 3 guys. We have 2 alternates, and unfortunately, Lucas Metz didn't pan out in his favor this year. And even though he worked hard, Paulie cut down to 65, and that kind of he had to make a decision: do I go up in weight or do I call it a career? When he made that decision, so he decided to go up in weight, and we kind of made that decision. And then, Isaac Barba didn't quite make weight at 157. So luckily, the way we did the district tournament, he got to wrestle 184 and went out on a gladiator shield. And, he fell 1 match short, and it was a close match. It was real fun to watch. I wasn't even in the corner. I was coaching Paulie in the final, so I only got to watch bits and pieces of it, but it was fun and exciting. So go back to your question of, how do I expect this to do? Look, we got 6 women that can compete. Our 207 girl, she's ranked number 12 in the country right now. They only seed the top 8, but she's got a she's got a move that can get her right back in any game and flip a coin, to get her to top 6. So she's going to have a chance. Jessica Komalate, she's been awesome. She's been on fire the last few tournaments. She's really got a good series of moves going for her. Ryan Rivas, she's been killing it in practice the last 3 weeks. She is locked in. I think we're going to get the best performance we've seen out of her. I hope. That's the plan. And then then we've got Katie and E. Katie's ranked. She's seeded 4th in the going in, and I definitely think she's a top 2 candidate. We'll see how that plays out. Who's had a lot of success, but it's not wrestled quite as many matches as the others. And then E's seeded 8th going in, and I think that seeding's a little false. on what it is. I tried to argue for the seating meeting, but unfortunately we don't wrestle a lot of JUCOs. We wrestle more 4 years because I believe that's how we're going to put our kids to the next level. So, of course, we didn't have the seating criteria needed to get her over the 8 seed, but that's okay. We'll make some bracket damage and
Yeah.
have fun with it.
She comes in as the 8th seed and potentially just knocks people in the mouth, so to speak.
That's the plan. On the men's side, you got Pauly Cadlick. Obviously, that's our man. He's All-American, returning All-American. He's seeded 3rd going in. And I think he could have easily been the number 1, but there's a kid from Pratt he's just as good as Pauly, honestly. I think Pauly's going to beat him in the finals, but we got to get there to prove that. But that kid's a returning All-American as well. So, we'll see what Pauly does. Last year Pauly was the 2 seed, and it didn't work out in our favor at all. But I think because we've grown, Pauly's locked in a little different. We've really done well in that first round now instead of where we were choking. I wouldn't even say choking. We just weren't performing to our absolute best to get those first round wins. And then we have Ty Ladd, which is our heavyweight. He's ranked 5th. He's seeded 15th going in, but his only loss is the number 7 kid in the country for JUCO. So he's a wild card. Let me tell you, that kid, you make a mistake, he's going to make you pay for it. And then we got Logan Guerrero, who's a transfer from North Central. He's really taken a jump, really, maturity-wise and work ethic-wise. He's working hard. We're a little banged up, but we're trying to get him recovered. And I'm going to tell you, if that kid shows up with his A game, everybody in the country better watch out because that kid could make some damage real bad to a bracket.
Yeah. How do you keep your wrestlers motivated, both entering the tournament and then throughout? Because, things can happen.
Yeah, so entering the tournament's a little easier, right? Everybody's 0-0. You win, 4, 5, 6 matches, and you're a national champ, depending on the size of your bracket, So keeping them motivated to go in, like, hey, look, this is a chance. You got 4 or 5 wins in a row, and you're the national champ. Like, that's easy. The hard part is if they drop a match early, can we get them to recover and get their head back in the game? And that's the challenge. Every kid's a little different. Some kids, you got to pump them up and tell them, hey, you lost because of a bad ref call or something like that, even if it isn't, just to give them that confidence to do that. And then, you got to let them know that you're there for them more than just as a wrestler. And that's something I really pride myself on. Like, I'll talk to all these kids after I'm gone and they're gone. That's just how that kind of works out for me personally. Some of them might never message me back, but I'll still reach out and check on them and see how they're doing. But that bond to keep them motivated has happened over the entire year.
Yeah. What's the format like at the national tournament? Because I've seen results and whatnot from throughout the season. How does it work kind of at that tournament? If one of your wrestlers loses a match, are they out or do they get a second chance?
No, so it's a double elimination tournament, and then it's top 6 or top 8. I don't know if we've switched the women's to top 8 yet. I think it's still top 6. I think that change is coming, but I don't think it's quite there yet. But don't hold me to that. I could be wrong. I could have missed an email or something. And the men's is top 8, place. So no, they get to wrestle all the way back. So if they lose in the first round, like Pauly did, right? Pauly lost in the first round as the 2 seed and wrestled all the way back, and we ended up 7th. But he could have easily have wrestled all the way back to 3rd. Now, if you lose, the best you can do is 3rd, unless you lose in the finals, and then you can get 2nd place. Yeah. But no true wrestle back to 2nd.
Yeah. Let's just talk a little bit about kind of the culture you've built here at JJC. It seems like your wrestlers have really kind of responded to just you challenging them and kind of pushing them to be their best. We've seen it with Pauly, but now, last year we spoke a lot about Pauly. This year we're speaking about everyone, especially on the women's side. Ryan,
Katie,
Jessica. What. Just speak a little bit about the culture you've built here.
Yeah, so, heck, I even forgot to mention Fernanda at 235. She hasn't been able to wrestle a lot. That's the reason I left her off. But she's going to have a match. She's going to be right in the hunt to All-American as well at 235. Sorry, Fernanda. But, her problem is they don't have a lot of matches that we wrestled at 235's offered. So how I've built a culture, look, I pride myself in that I'm not we're not going to grind through everything. It's all about health and making it through the whole year. And I know my numbers don't say that very well, but some people just can't. They're not meant to be wrestlers, or they other things in life have come up that changes their path, not being able to wrestle.
Yeah.
Being a JUCO D3, we don't offer anything but an opportunity. So it's not like I'm holding money over their head or scholarship. I definitely have built a practice where they can still work full-time jobs if they want. They can still do all their schooling, and I pride myself in, I'm a master's in I have a master's in education, so I'm really high on the educational side of it. Our GPA did not go where I wanted it to go this year, compared to last year on the women's side, but it's not bad. I'm going to be honest with you. We're still up there, probably one of the highest in the school, so I'm not terribly upset with that, but that's how I've done it. We've done it more on health and recovery, and we train hard the small times that we train hard, if that makes sense.
Now I visited one of your practices once, the men's practice. I took a bunch of stock art.
Yep.
But, can you describe what your practices are like, and specifically in preparation for this national tournament?
Yeah, so, overall, like when we first start off, of course, we're 2 hours, 2.5 hours, to get all our moves in and show everybody what we like. That's how I've always done it. And then after that, I become monotonized. And that's how I think we get the best results out of our kids. We stick to the basics. The basics wins championships. I guarantee you more championships are made this weekend, since we're talking early, this weekend by snap down backhand go behinds, which is like one of the easiest things. And I feel like coaches sometimes forget to go back to just the real basics. Mm-hmm. So, our practice is, now that we've combined it and when the girls know what they're doing, it's literally an hour and 15 minutes long, but we're drilling hard. It's the same things over and over and over again, which comes to that motivation. How do you keep a kid motivated when they're doing the exact same thing over and over again? And that's the relationship part. Yeah. Going into nationals, we do live wrestling throughout the season. We've kind of cut back a lot from live wrestling. Now we're going with flowing, which is semi-live, but it's more just hey, we're just going to wrestle through each position and kind of just stay moving. So we're losing our weight and keeping our cardio up really high.
You've talked a lot about making weight and, whether it's building or cutting. How difficult is that as a coach, but also as a wrestler to do? Because we were talking before I hit record. I have friends who wrestled in high school and whatnot, and they cut weight, made weight, all that. It can be a challenge. How do you kind of approach that as a coach?
Yeah, so, adding and subtracting weight, first of all, comes by, does the kid know how to do it themselves before they get here? And then 2, do they trust you enough, and are they going to listen to you to follow that process before it's too late? They'll realize what I'm saying is where it's at. But, the first thing we do is we get in a weight room. Are we strong? Have they been lifting all year? If they're on a bulking program, or are they on a thinning program? That it changes depending on what we do, So like where Lucas went on a bulking program, he's lifting heavy weights with light reps, with lower reps, whereas like Polly's cutting weight. So Polly's going lighter weight, higher reps. So it happens, that way. The hard part is we don't have a strength and conditioning coach here. It's all on me or the kids to do it themselves. So that's where that challenge comes in. And then kind of teaching the kids what to eat, how to give the energy so that they have some energy during practice. And there's some tips that I give that some other coaches don't have, and then there's some tips that I don't have that other coaches have. Right? That's all kind of like a secret. It's all how each body works out.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody's different too. But bodies can react.
No, and it's even harder for the women. The women's side's even more challenging because, obviously, I've never cut weight as a woman. I don't know if you've ever cut weight as a woman, but you know what I'm saying. So having to figure out how they react to their, their cutting weight is a big thing, and you got to know when to push and when to, what, you're good. You just go on your own, just make weight. You got to trust them at face value.
How with dietary stuff when it comes to wrestling, how much of a hand do you have in that with your team?
Yeah, so I talk to them, but other than that, that's about all I have. We don't have, they're not living on campus, they're going home, so I can tell them what to eat. I try to tell them how to do it, and then if they do it, they do it. If they don't, they do it their own way. That's kind of how, people doing it their own way is kind of where we got our numbers dropped quite a bit because they were trying to do it their own way, and they didn't trust the process right away. And now the kids, you're seeing the success from the kids that followed the process, and that's the key is find a coach, whether it's here, anywhere else in the country, as a wrestler, I'll tell you, find a coach that you believe in and you're just going to trust. You just got to ride the wave with them.
Yeah. So, national tournament this weekend. We've talked a lot about it. We've talked a lot about your team and kind of getting to this point. What are your expectations? We know what the goals are. Win that national championship, win, those titles.
Yeah.
But realistically, outside of that, what are you hoping to see from both sides of your team?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll give you the cliche one. I'm hoping to see improvement in them wrestling hard, whistle to whistle. That's the cliche one, but that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see the growth that we've had over the year. I'd really like to see no one go 0-2. That'd be devastating for me. If someone put in all this hard work and go 0-2, but I'm sure there'll be somebody that'll make a mistake or two and it'll happen, but I hope not. Realistic expectations, I'd like to see, I'd like to finish the women's team in top 10. I think we're in the hunt for that. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge. We're going to need some girls to show up more than what they've shown up all year. And then on the men's side, I'd like to push for the Division III third place trophy, but there's some teams out there that are Division III that are a lot better than what they were last year. So if we put this team out there last year, we're there. But it's going to be on those three kids. We can't go 0-2. They got to win matches. Every match counts as team points. It can't just be Pauly win the national title and we're going to ride off Pauly's coattails. That's the key. And Pauly's there if he needs to. He seems to be, I'm the guy. Don't ride my back, guys. But at the same time, they've been pushing Pauly and Pauly's been pushing them. So, it's going to be a fun ride. I think we could easily get 2 All-Americans out on the men's side, and I think we can easily get 2 I say easily, but I'm saying they're obviously going to have to show up and wrestle, so nothing's easy in the wrestling world, but, I could see that.
How many teams are there competing?
On the women's side, I think there's 26. On the men's side, I think there's over 63. Oof. We're not broken down by division. So, we're competing against people that got full ride scholarships. They live on campus. Yeah. They have strength and conditioning coaches. They got budgets of, $100,000, $50,000 compared to where we are here, or we're just providing an opportunity. Our kids are having to fundraise money to be able to go to these events. So, the odds are kind of stacked against us on that, but we're not the only ones. There's other Division III teams. I just told you we're fighting for third, in my opinion, so I don't think we have the numbers coming out of our district. Our district's a little too hard to help with that Division III title, but, anything's possible when you get there. Those other kids choke, they miss weight, something happens, they catch a flu or something. Then we're right there in the hunt, so.
Cool. Well, I guess I'm going to wish you luck this weekend, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Hopefully we'll get you on in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
To talk about maybe some national champion.
Yeah, heck yeah, that'd be awesome. I would definitely hop on. It might be virtual. It might be a little bit of a drive to come out here, but
yeah,
we'll definitely do something.
I appreciate you taking the time, Coach. Again, good luck this weekend.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And tune in next week for more Coffee with the Wolves.